And human rights groups have warned the authorities in Sri Lanka against using excessive force at largely peaceful protests during a growing economic crisis. It comes as police fired tear gas and water cannon to disperse crowds in the capital, Colombo. For weeks, police have been accused of heavy-handedness during protests, though authorities say it is to restore order as tensions escalate. Our South Asia correspondent Rajini Vaidyanathan has this report.
Human rights and human fights. The police fired tear gas and used water cannons to disperse the protesting university students in Kelania on the 4th of October who was protesting against the incumbent government. The protesters demanded the release of protesters arrested under the Prevention of Terrorist Act during the Aragalaya at the Gulf Face. Is it fair for a constitutionally elected government by the people in a democratic country to protest at a time of economic crisis by university students when all Sri Lankans be united to solve the sad situation to the extent of over 6 million people on the verge of starvation? You be the judge. The government of the day is taking all measures to overcome the crisis by recuperation and the progress in the socio-economical case. Should the police watch the circus without taking precautionary action to disperse the mob or be onlookers? Are such protestations relevant to the country and affecting the peace and well-being of most peace-loving people? That is a question one must ask human rights organizations. Sri Lanka detains student leaders under the anti-terrorism law. They were arrested after joining a protest rally in Colombo. The Sri Lankan police on Monday confirmed the detention of 3 student activities under a dreaded anti-terrorism law 4 days after arresting them at a protest held in the capital Colombo. Local and international rights advocates have slammed the move, accusing the government of construing dissent as terrorism, even as Sri Lanka's controversial Prevention of Terrorism Act is again under sharp focus. On August 18th, the police arrested nearly 20 protesters at a Colombo march organized by the Inter-University Students' Federation. Participants highlighted many issues, including state repression and the spiraling cost of living. While most of those arrested were soon granted bail, Federation convener Vasanta Mudalike, student activists Hashan Jivanta and Galveva Sridharma, who led the university's monk federation, were in police custody for over 72 hours amid reports of their detention under the PTA. As lawyers struggle to obtain information on the students' whereabouts, rights activists, members of the political opposition, and the international human rights watchdogs were quick to condemn the move. Mr. Mudalike was a prominent voice during the Janata people's struggle that spanned 4 months and dramatically dislodged former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in July. The IUSF and other student groups played a crucial role in sustaining the peaceful anti-government agitations demanding Gota go home and seeking system change, often braving water cannons and tear gas unleashed by the police. A spotlight on PTA again. Sri Lanka's PTA, which rights activists term draconian and want to be repealed, was enacted in 1979 under President J.R. Jayawardena, primarily to crush Tamil youth's armed struggle against state discrimination. It became permanent law in 1982, mainly modelled on South African apartheid era legislation and British regulations against Irish militancy. The PTA was also used against rebellious Sinhala youth during the second JVP uprising in the late 1980s, and more recently against Muslims following the Easter Sunday terror attacks of 219. In a letter to the Inspector General of Police on Monday, the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka said it was deeply concerned about the resurrection of the PTA by the police on suspects who do not fall within the definition of the Act. It has been brought to the notice of the HRCSL that the recent iteration of the PTA has been grossly manipulated to exert tyranny through undemocratic methods and justify the wrongful arrest of protesters, the Commission noted. Amnesty International South Asia Director Yamini Mishra said, using a draconian anti-terror law to crack down on protesters is a new law for the Sri Lankan government. This weaponizing of an already highly criticized law, which should be repealed immediately, is a testament to how the authorities are unwilling to withstand criticism and systematically stifle dissenting voices. The PTA allows for the detention of suspects for up to a year without charge, which is in violation of international law, she pointed out in a statement issued on Monday, hours after police confirmed that President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is also the defense minister, signed a student leaders' detention order for 90 days, effectively approving their detention without judicial oversight for the period. When the next generation is silenced from protesting for basic needs, we threaten democracy. We must protest those that exercise this right instead of persecuting them by weaponizing the PTA, the leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa said in a tweet on Saturday. In a meeting with President Wickremesinghe on Monday, he stressed grave reservations on the use of legislation, he said in a tweet. When individuals break the law and become unruly, the police have no other rule of the law to act upon to arrest such individuals. PTA may be draconian, and if so, a new act needs to be passed in Parliament for the police to act upon. Until such time, PTA will be used by the police to arrest people when required. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka, BASL, slams government over abuse of PTA to arrest and detain protesters. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka says it is deeply concerned about using the Prevention of Terrorist Act of PTA provisions to arrest and detain persons involved in protests against the government. In a media release dated 19th August 2022, the Sri Lanka police stated that certain aspects are being detained for incidents which occurred during the protest from 9th April 2022. The BASL noted that since then, Detention orders for 90 days have been issued, signed by the President in his capacity as the Minister of Defense, detaining 3 protesters under Section 9 of the PTA. The PTA is a draconian piece of legislation which gives wide powers to the executive to arrest and detain persons for a lengthy period, the Bar Association said in a statement today. During the debate above in Parliament, as reflected in the Hansard on the 22nd March 2022, the then Minister of Justice M.U.M. Ali Sabri, presently the Minister of Foreign Affairs, stated in Parliament as follows. As a result, since September 2021, there has been a de facto moratorium on the use of the PTA on offences other than those directly involved with terrorism. Therefore, these are progressive steps made in that regard.
I would say he is different to the Rajapaksas in that, the Rajapaksas tend to be brutal. The regime can be very brutal, ruthless. Ranil Wickremesinghe is also a very intelligent man. He will use the law to crush dissent, to restrict rights. The government is making the law a joke. The prosecution has become persecution.
Hello, President. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Ranil Wickremesinghe has been in politics for 45 years and been Prime Minister 6 times, though he's never finished a term. The former lawyer has sold himself as a champion of democracy and the answer to Sri Lanka's current crisis.
President, since you came to power, authorities have been targeting the protesters. There have been many arrests. Is that actually going to fix Sri Lanka's crisis that you're facing at the moment?
I don't think going and burning government houses will fix the crisis. We have to all realize that. Do you think occupying the president's house or burning my house, or occupying the prime minister's house, or coming to occupy the parliament, do you think any of them would have solved our problems?
Do you think that arresting people and cracking down
we
is going to fix the
arrest
crisis?
people who broke the law. I am not the one who does it. It's been left to the police, like in your country. And the police have decided to charge them. Everything has been done legally.
Many protesters, like Father Jivanta, a uni leader called Vasanta, there's a lot of people who
Those are. I know the groups you spoke to. I know the groups you have spoken to. You are trying to put the case of these minority to me, and I'm answering on behalf of the majority.
Do you understand a majority of this country is suffering at the moment?
I understand the majority of the country is suffering and they want a solution. They were not out there.
Do you have the majority backing, though? That's the question of your country.
In the country, yes. I am the one who said the correct thing. Go to the IMF. That's why there's confidence back in me. That's why there's confidence in me, that I can deliver.
Hello viewers. The Prevention of Terrorism Act of 1978 is a law in Sri Lanka. It provides the police with broad powers to search, arrest and detain suspects. There is no other law to arrest people when required by the police. Unfortunately, it is draconian but will keep peace in the country without further vociferous protest rallies that end up with confrontations and breaking the law. The change may occur at the next general parliamentary elections, but remember, the people have a short memory. Stay safe and goodbye for now.